Well, welcome to Hamilton County TV. I'm Perry Williams. Alongside of me is the head football coach of the Noblesville Millers. Welcome, Coach Sharpe.
Hi, Perry. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Another season here. Let's talk a little bit about. I know that you lost, as always. When you have a senior class, you lose a lot of players from last season, and you have some good ones returning, but you've also, when you lose 5,000 yards rushing for those guys in 3 years, in Gage Gully and Logan Schaffner, you got to think a little bit.
It's the bittersweet part of coaching when you say goodbye to a class, but then as soon as you say goodbye to them, you're just so eager to work with that next group, those younger kids that are willing to prove themselves. So it's cyclical. It happens at every high school in the nation, and you say goodbye to some great seniors, but you say hello to some good new sophomores and juniors that you didn't get to work with quite as much in the year before. So.
And I guess you really. One thing I don't think people really understand, and I know you work very hard at it, you got to train your seniors to be seniors and to be leaders, and sometimes some classes are easier than others.
Yeah, we really we put a big focus on leadership council this off season. We had used leadership councils before. We did not use it much this previous year, and that was a huge mistake on my part. It was our full focus of the off season. Of course, we were still lifting a weight or two, but we were really focused on getting a large group of people, sophomores, juniors, and seniors that we kind of selected, and meeting with them once or twice a week, and just talking with them for about 45 minutes a session. And I have to give our new assistant coach, Tony Wilhelm, he did a wonderful job helping us lead this leadership council and just trying to train our players that we kind of sense these guys really care about Miller football. We wanted them to go just really do a deep dive into communicating how much you care with everybody else. Not just saying, come on, let's go, but trying to connect with your teammates on a deeper level. And, we've proved to our kids, the kids have proved themselves, like, we can be there to the bitter end with Westfield and Brownsburg and some of these other great teams. Maybe the reason why we're not pulling these games out in the final seconds is maybe we're not as connected as we could be. So I think it's been a great thing for us, and I have to give Tony Wilhelm a ton of credit for helping us out with that. And we had a lot of assistant coaches chime in and help out with our throughout our off season. We proudly wear these dice symbol, put in our locker room, but dice is the core values that we wanted our senior leaders kind of came up with. So DICE, discipline, integrity, commitment, effort. So we're hanging our hat on those four. We want those four core values to be instilled into anyone that plays Miller football. And the more we talk about it, the more it does stick. And discipline's the first one. And that's such a multifaceted word, but we remind our kids that discipline is love. We have to correct you because we love you. We want you to be the best that you can be. And once the kids kind of see it, it's like, these seniors aren't yelling at me because they don't like me. These coaches aren't getting on me because they don't like me. It's because we're just trying to get you on the path to be the best you can be. So I think this has been a great off season in those terms. I think our work ethic's been great, all that stuff, the X's and O's, the football, the drills, that's all been great too. But we really we kind of capped off the senior leadership or the leadership council part with taking our kids to Trine University in late June. We kicked off football, like we're allowed 12 padded practices in June, July. We kind of held off the first 3 weeks of June, and we chose to take our kids to Trine, and it was just awesome. So we went up to Angola. The kids got to spend the night in the dorms for 2 nights. We practiced a little bit. We did a bunch of team bonding activities. We took the kids to Lake James. Beautiful. They got to swim the beautiful waters up there. Got to scrimmage a couple of teams. But overall, just having the kids staying in a dorm room hall together and go to the cafeteria together, they got to get a little taste of college. And you can feel that. Excuse me. This team is a little a little bit tighter than we've been in years past, and I hope that pays dividends for us. And if it doesn't pay dividends for us, I think it's still going to be great. I think we're making the experience better for the average 15, 16, 17-year-old in Noblesville, and I'm very proud of that, and I can't wait to continue doing what we're doing off-season wise, next off-season. But for now, we got some games to play, and we got to be ready to go. So I would like to kind of talk about our team because they have been working really hard, and we've got a lot of guys that I want to kind of highlight that have been doing a great job for us. So. I'm going to kind of start with our defense. So, Adam Metzler's back for yet another year, and he's as good of a defensive coach as I've ever been around. I think Coach Metzler deserves a lot of credit for going through, I think I'm his fourth different head coach that he's worked for, and he's just so loyal and proud to be a Miller, and he works his butt off getting these kids to have a great system, great scheme, and just he dedicates his life to getting these guys to be in the right place at the right time on a Friday night. And, this year, we have a lot of returns in our front seven. Every football season is a little bit different. As you mentioned, we lost 5,000 yards of rushing, okay? But we return a lot of big guys, and we return a lot of linebacker type bodies. So that's where the strength of our team will be. We will be very young and inexperienced in terms of the offensive skill players and also in terms of the defensive backs. But when you look at our front seven, returning key figures like on the D-line, like Drew Conte, Adam Mahedny, Indy Wilhelm, Michael Bennett, that's going to be our anchor right there. That we can rely on that experience for those guys to really disrupt offensive lines. When you look at our linebacker core, we're going to move Israel Oladipo to an inside linebacker, and he's looking really good at that position. It might not be his college position, but for us, we need a really good guy that can just fly to the football, and so you'll see Izzy, even though he's about 6'4", you'll see him down, as an inside linebacker this year. Izzy's little brother Praise Oladipo, who's a sophomore, has had just an incredible offseason. He works just as hard as his brother Izzy, and he's going to also play inside linebacker. So we're trying to get faster in that aspect, and I think those two guys, along with guys like Aiden Kincaid, Max Sala, they give us great depth there at ILB. We return other linebackers with experience. Corbin Hornicle, who started last year, look for him to play more of an outside linebacker role this year. Monty Atkins, who got a lot of playing time last year, he's going to play some OLB as well. And then Aiden Brewer, who's no stranger to Noblesville, football and basketball, starting multiple years in both sports. He is going to play a ton of defense. We've actually said, AB, you know what you're doing on offense. You practice defense most of the summer, and he's bought in 100%. So you can expect to see another 6'4" kid off the ball as an outside linebacker in Aiden Brewer. So when you add all those pieces together, that's a pretty solid, pretty experienced front seven. Probably as experienced front seven as I can remember in my coaching career, with all those guys coming back. And then we have some younger guys in the mix too, like Cale Metzler is going to be a great defensive lineman possibly. Alvin Norvell's doing a good job, and amongst a few other people. Luke Hargis has had a great summer. Brady Piggott, watch out for him as a potential breakout kid as a junior. He's going to get some playing time in that front seven. So we love our depth there. Then we look at our defensive backfield. Okay, we graduated a lot of good players.
Yeah.
Remember Carter Richardson and Cole Richardson and Cam Wilson. Gage Gully was back there quite a bit as well. So we lost some good ones, but we really have a good crop of youngsters. So that great freshman team that we had last year that went 8-1, some of those sophomores, I mentioned Praise, Oladipo, and Aiden Kincaid, Cale Metzler, but a lot of those guys are fighting for spots as defensive backs to replace Cam and Carter and Cole and so forth. So expect guys like Abram Hunter, PJ Stanley, both those guys sophomores. Ty Holmes, a sophomore. Expect those three sophomores to really battle it out for some defensive back playing time. We added a kid, James Robinson, who moved in over in the offseason. He's going to be a senior. He's fighting for some time at safety. Cam Mullen, who has experience, got on the field a little bit in special teams and a little bit last year. He's going to be a senior leader in that defensive backfield as a safety as well. So Marcus Burns, a junior, had a great JV season. He is in the mix as well there too. So that's our young secondary, but it's young, but it's deep. So we like that. And I have to give a huge shout out to our defensive backs coaches. I think these guys are the best in the state. Coach Colin Jasper, who's back with us for a 4th year, and Coach Jason Schonkweiler, who's our resource officer here in high school. Those are A-plus level defensive backs coaches. So you can trust that our kids, whoever we end up going with out of those guys, we want to play 4 of them at a time, right? But they're going to know what they're doing, and they're going to be flying to the football, and they're going to be as tenacious as they can be. So that's going to make up our defense for 2024. And then offensively, we all know we graduated Jacob Baker, Logan Schaffner, Gage Goalie, Gabe Bell, and Blake Widget. Wow, I mean that's a big hit. But the big boys are back. A lot of the big boys are back. So no stranger to Noblesville football is Merrick Helvey and Michael Bennett. Okay, so these 2 guys are 3-year starters on the offensive line. They know the offense like the back of their hand. We plan on playing those 2 guys at guard. We're going to have 2 big athletic guards, and for us, that's huge. We ask our guards to pull a lot. It's hard for a guy that weighs 270, 280 to pull, but these guys are athletes, Michael and Merrick. What gives us a great advantage, our guards, we ask them to solo block quite a bit. So you got a couple of huge guys that are as strong as guys as any on the team. They can solo block and then they can pull. That's going to make us really strong. We're going to be really strong up the middle. We return Toby Barnes, who has started at center in the past. Spot starts as a sophomore and a junior at times, and again knows exactly what we want to do. Has been with us the whole time. So we return him as a center. We have great depth at center with Mateo DeRosa, another senior. Our tight end positions, tons of experience. Aiden Brewer back for year number 3 as a right tight end. And then Indy Wilhelm, who started at tackle last year, we're going to play him as a left tight end. And we have depth there at tight end. So Calvin Moody, one of our best JV players, he's about 6'5", 230 pounds. We're going to rotate him in. Indy and AB, they're going to play a ton of defense, okay? But we can afford to spell them on offense a little bit because we have a great prospect in Calvin Moody that can come in, and we have a lot of confidence in him. Another one of our really good, big, strong players, Caleb Johnson, a sophomore that started on that really good offensive line as a freshman. Caleb's about 6'4", 240 pounds. He's a wonderful athlete. He is playing tackle and tight end. He's given us great depth at both positions. So expect he might wear 2 different jersey numbers depending on the scenario where we need to rotate him in. So that's our tight end depth. That's a lot of depth. I mentioned the 2 guards. We can also throw in Cale Metzler and Carlos Andrade, 2 wonderful guards as well. So we're loaded at guards and tight ends, and then our tackle positions are going to be some younger guys, but some big guys. Okay, so Jackson Apple, who's our heavyweight wrestler, about 6'6", 270 pounds. Mason McDermott, his brother Ransom, who is playing at Louisville now. Mason's about 6'7", 270 pounds already, and so Jackson and Mason, and then I mentioned Caleb Johnson also rotating in there as a tackle. That kind of gives us a lot of depth there at that position. So up front, O-line, D-line, we're big and we're experienced. That's a start. Now, where we're not experienced is in the backfield, but we have the ultimate leader at quarterback right now in Max Miller. Max played defensive back as a sophomore. He moved into a tight end as a junior, started every game, played every snap, and now we're moving him back to quarterback position. He's played most of his life in lower levels. Okay, was our freshman quarterback his freshman year. But Max has picked up everything. He's as smart a player as I can ever remember being around, and just a great leader. And I just think it's an amazing story for a guy to play DB, tight end, and then quarterback. It's quite the journey through Miller football. But his versatility and willingness to do whatever it takes to help his teammates is really what sets Max apart. And he's a big, strong athlete. We plan on using his legs and his arms and his arm. I think he gives us a nice little edge, especially in the run game, and how well he carries out fakes and how bought in he is to just helping us gain as many yards as possible, score as many points as possible. So that's Max for you. Now running back wise, oh man, this is a list. We're searching, and that's a good thing because we are auditioning about 10 guys. Okay, so replacing all those running backs that we lost. I'll kind of start with our seniors. So Brody Gump has been our JV fullback the past 2 seasons. Gained a jillion yards in JV. Okay, so Brody and Cody Prater and DJ Collier are kind of our three fullbacks. DJ and Cody are sophomores. So those quick little guys that we're trying to get to replace that position. It's been a huge position for us with Logan Schaffner the past 3 years. But those guys know exactly the little cuts that we're looking for, the blocks that we're looking for. So we're excited about working those three guys at fullback. When we look at our two halfback spots, the positions that Gage Goley, Gabe Bellin, Blake Widget kind of occupied the past few seasons, we are trying to use some two-way players. So Izzy Oladipo, wait till you see this guy run the ball. 6'4", 240 pounds. We're going to hand him the ball off quite a bit. We're going to let him lead block quite a bit. And he is in such remarkable shape in terms of his cardiovascular. We think Izzy can play almost the entire game. When he needs to come out, we got depth, but we are really excited to have, to really turn over a new leaf in Noblesville football. We're saying, if you're a good player and you love Miller football, we're not taking you out of the game unless you can't walk, unless you're just gassed. So I mentioned Indy Wilhelm, Michael Bennett. Those are two other examples, Aiden Brewer, and now Izzy. Expect to see a big, gigantic running back in there. And we hope to feed him the ball early and often. He's done a great job picking it up throughout the summer. Another two-way guy, Ty Holmes, is going to be very special. Very, very special as a safety. He is as quick as a guy that I can remember coaching, and he's only a sophomore. And he was our leading rusher on that great freshman team last year. And Ty's going to play some running back as well. So it might be crazy to play a sophomore two ways in 6A football, but I think Ty's special enough to earn that opportunity, and we're excited for Ty to play as much as he possibly can. When those two guys aren't in the game, Noah Schinkel, Luke Heil, Nicky Morris, those three halfbacks, all have had great summers. Okay, now Nicky and Nicky and Noah are both sophomores again. Scored a bunch of touchdowns for that great freshman team. So they know what they're doing. And then Luke Heil was a great JV player for us. And Luke's kind of that Gabe Bellin type of, that bulldog type of short yardage halfback that we were like runs really hard. Nicky and Noah are great athletes that can do a little bit of everything. So that's the depth that we have. Not even to mention like Xavion Bond, Zane Strahl, Philip Grayson. Those guys have also had great summers learning our running back positions. So I feel great about the depth. It's all over the place, but when you have all that depth, it makes practices a lot of fun. In years past, we've always tried to, like, we're going to be a power T offense. Like, we're not hiding from that. We're not apologizing for it. It's kind of amazing to me when you look back the past 3 years, we have top 10 offenses in school history. Yet a lot of people like to criticize our offense. Well, that's fine. That's fine. Our kids don't. Our kids know what they're doing. To run this system, you have to know how. You can't just say, "Hey, let's run power for 5 minutes and then move on to something else." We see a different defense from Mount Vernon, and then a different one from Homestead, different one from Fishers. Westfield runs a unique system against us. Zionsville's always been unique against us. FC's been, and every week is something different. And the kids know it's not just how they line up, it's the post-snap movement. And we're getting a lot better at, if I'm a tackle, I'm going to probably have a 5, a 4, or a 3. What's that 5, 4, or 3 doing? Is he consistently playing straight? Is he pinching? Is he going out? Is he slanting opposite of me? Are they walking up linebackers? What are they doing with their 20 linebackers? Are they flowing over the top? Are they spiking Bs? So we have to know all these little subtle things. And so for us we don't have many plays, but we have to practice each play 15 or 20 times a day to stay crisp at it and to keep the machine well oiled. And that's where it takes so much practice time, to where we can't afford to go out and do a lot of stuff. We try to liken our offense, for people that don't quite understand it, we're kind of like Chick-fil-A. We're not going to make hot dogs and hamburgers. We're going to make chicken. We're going to make it really, 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 really good. And we're going to specialize in just really getting good at one thing. Okay? So over and over again, offensively, we are working out those kinks every single day so that we know what's going to happen when we take the field with all the different looks that we get defensively. And once our kids kind of buy into that, then they know what do we like to do when the 2 technique is doing this. What kind of play do we like to do when they walk down a 7 tight to the tight end? What do we like to do when whatever, the kids can kind of almost be the offensive coordinators and figure out what to call depending on how the defense is reacting to us. So I think that's really cool. Now, we're always afforded a small amount of time. We can get through our whole base offense in about an hour and 15 minutes, and we have a small amount of time to supplement with practice, to supplement different types of offenses. So we do have subtle wrinkles this year, as we have it in years past, but more for us, it is getting the commitment to playing guys two ways, both sides of the ball. That's going to gobble up a lot of our extra practice time. When Israel, AB, Indy, Michael, etc., when they're practicing defense, we're getting some younger guys valuable reps, but then we got to do a little switcheroo and get those guys the reps on the other side of the ball. So I think it's a recommitment to our fundamentals. When we look back at our films from last year, it comes down to just tiny, subtle mistakes within our Power T system where he's just like, that critical 3rd and 4, we didn't get it because this. If we'd have practiced it more, probably would have got it. So we are, again, not apologizing for running the Power T system. We are doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on it, and we think that this will help us. This will help us be a little bit more able to sustain long drives and keep defenses off balance. I know I've talked for quite a few minutes.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
But that's kind of what to expect from us this season when we kick it off against Mount Vernon on Friday.
One thing before we start touching with Mount Vernon, I know that you and I have spent a lot of time in these 5 years of you being here and talking about the football program. And I know early on you talked about we got to get faster.
Yeah.
We got to get quicker.
Yep.
And our team has to understand this offense. I mean, because we don't have a big room for errors, and the line has to block. And now I feel like from listening to you talk here, you have those guys, those Michael Bennett's, those Izzy's, those people have been in this offense for about 3 or 4 years, learning this, and they pretty well understand it. And you're not. It sounds like you're not having to reteach this offense all the time.
No, and it's polishing up the skills. It's keeping the machine well oiled, whatever analogy you want to use. But the kids know if we were to fully commit to the Fisher's playbook or Westfield's playbook or Brownsburg's playbook, we would have a little bit of success. But I don't think we would be able to match scores with those types of teams. And until that day comes, this fits us perfectly. And an offensive system is, we use this we're trying to get to the fourth quarter against teams that are incredibly good, and we can chew clock and keep our defense well rested. That's a fact. We've proven that against everybody that we play. Keep those good offenses on the sidelines. So that's another reason. We don't want to go incomplete, out of bounds, punt, and take 20 seconds off the clock. That makes the game a lot longer. So it all kind of culminates to, there's 48 minutes in a football game. We're probably going to get the ball 8 times, maybe 7, maybe 9. Other team probably get the ball about 8 times. We feel like we can score 28 points against everybody. We can get half of our possessions can get in the end zone. And when you look back at average HCC scores, 28 points wins you most games. Probably 3/4 of the games, you have 28 points, you're going to win. And that's our goal. And if we have long drives, maybe the opposing team only gets the ball 6 or 7 times, which just improves our chances of legitimately winning a game 28-21 or whatever the case may be.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Mount Vernon. Last season they finished up 7-5, but in the beginning of the season they struggled a little bit, and they were 1 for 3, and then they rolled off several wins in a row. I guess they lost 1, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, including a couple wins in the sectional. So Coach Liddy's kind of in the same situation that you are, because he's in his 4th season there, okay, and they had a great team that first year and that he was there, and and he come from a good program over there to Mount Vernon, and so that is a very good 3A football team. It's always been very 4A football team. They're very, very competitive.
It's a great program. I think it starts with Coach Leidy, a great coach. Those guys play hard. They're tough, and then you look at Toby Jacobs, their offensive coordinator, who's Vince and Toby are both at HSC for a couple of decades, and so they're very experienced in playing the Millers, and but they always score points on us. They're very creative offensively, and then defensively, they play hard. They play hard. We know that we're going to get. It's going to be it's going to be an old backyard brawl like it always is with these guys. We always have exciting games with the Marauders past few years, and we know that we're going to get their best effort. We know it's going to be a packed house. They travel well. They bring a lot of fans, and their kids are going to be ready to go. Yeah,
that's a growing community over there. And I'll tell you what, they definitely these last 3 years or so, that program. I mean, this is not an easy first game.
Oh no!
I mean, they're a tough opponent, and
it's hard to find non-conference games. It's you want to stay within an hour's drive, hopefully. A couple years back we played Terre Haute. That wasn't a whole lot of fun. Terre Haute South, but to have somebody just a half hour down the street that's incredibly competitive, it's going to give us a great fight week one, and turn this into hopefully a long-time rivalry is I think it's great for both schools.
Well, let's face it. I mean, we had to travel to Terre Haute South, and that really wasn't a good trip or a good ball game. I mean, I'm not sure how much we learned from that. And I think when we play Mount Vernon, we learn something every year.
We learn a lot. And then, another year we had to travel all the way up to the north side of Chicago to play at Bennett Academy. That was a 4.5-hour bus trip. That was no fun. So we hope to continue our week one series with Mount Vernon for many years to come.
Well, what about the game coming up here at Mount Vernon? We're at home. Mm-hmm. Hamilton County TV will be broadcasting. We're always certainly excited. And the one thing about it, Coach, in the 5 years you've been here, we draw a good crowd here. I mean, there's people, and we're enthusiastic, and you look before the game, which you don't have time to do, but there are people out there tailgating. There are people, that are really pumped up for Noblesville football.
I don't think it's got anything to do with me or any of the players. I think people in Noblesville love football, and they want to see a winner, and they're going to show up. No matter who's on the team or who the coaches are or whatever. It's a great place to coach because you're going to get that support. Having worked with so many different coaches in my career, it's a lot of times people they can get discouraged when they coach and they look behind them. There's just a couple hundred people in the stands, and it's obviously not the case here. I think it's hands down the biggest crowds in the Indy area and probably in the state. Consistently packing Beaver Stadium. We built that thing too small, Perry.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, as long as these kids keep playing hard, we might have to add another upper deck to that thing soon.
And you've been talking about it. I mean, I know last year you were excited about this freshman group and making sure you kept them together. Yeah. I mean, you didn't, when you got into some tough situations, you didn't go out down there and gobble up a bunch of kids and stuff.
We struggled a little bit JV-wise last year, but freshmen just tore it apart, and we wanted them to experience winning as a team, and not pluck 3 or 4 of them to help out the JV. So I hope that pays dividends. I think they are winners. They expect to win. That this is a group that is fast, that is tenacious, that is big. It's a little bit of everything. And I didn't mention our backup quarterback, Aiden Braun, who's a sophomore who led that group. He's had a great offseason too. We feel real confident about his future. So it's just a class with a little bit of everything, and they're very tight. They're all buddies, and it's cool to keep them all together, and hopefully they can help lead us this year. We're going to call on a lot of them to help us out.
Well, I think I've known the kid for several years, and Max Miller's a born leader. I mean, he really is. And in fact, I talked to him at the soccer game the other night, and he, a little bit after you had your scrimmage, and he's very, very confident in going back at that spot, which is good. I mean, he has no it doesn't seem he has no hesitation about getting back behind, because that was one of the questions I asked him. I said, "Do you feel comfortable?" He said, "Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go."
He is definitely ready to go.
Well, that's good. Well, Coach, good luck
Yeah.
on Friday, and I'm excited about broadcasting the game. So.
Okay, very good. It is our senior night, so we'll give
Yes.
all of our senior football players, been with us for 4 years, give them a great shout out with their parents, so a very special
Yeah.
moment for all
Yeah.
those families.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks, Perry. Go Millers.